Seems legit. Hold on. Beer it up, guys. How are you doing, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. Hold on. Let me just connect the webcam. Totally forgot about that. But that's what happens when you have to deal with Houston traffic a lot. So there we go. Finally. Oh, it looks like we're good. So how are you doing, everybody? Today is Thursday, the 7th of June. And we're back for another episode of Down in the Valley, brought to you by our friends from the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check them out on their website, www.bgn.fm. Be sure to also check out their Twitter page, which is at the BGNFM. Be sure to also check out our friends at Dynamo Theory, at Dynamo Theory on Twitter, dynamotheory.com. Check out our page, which is downintheRGV.com. Follow us in all of our social media, which are, you have Twitter at downintheRGV, Facebook at downintheRGV as well. We also have Instagram, where we collaborate on an Instagram fan page, which is at RGVFC fans. Also, be sure to check out on all of the platforms where our podcasts go through. Check us out on Soundcloud, iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, and be sure to also, excuse me, it's my phone. Be sure to listen to the podcast whenever they are available. Also on the Beautiful Game Network's website. And forgot to mention also that while you're there on the Beautiful Game Network's website, be sure to check out all the other USL podcasts that are available for you to listen to. They're really high quality USL podcasts from people that have done this for many years, and that includes the Tornado Alley, the Unused Substitutes, Foxtrot Podcast, Texas Soccer Radio by Cal Mankey, the USL Show, and many others. So having said all of this, I know it is a little bit long, but having said all of this, I am accompanied once again by our co-host, Jacob. Jacob, how are you been?
Been well. Watched the game last night, so excited to talk about that, as well as just a ton of stuff that's been going on this week for soccer.
Yeah, it's been, I think for me, it's been kind of nonstop as far as the Dynamo / RGVFC organization news that have been coming up. So hopefully we'll have time. I know we kind of started a little later because #Houston traffic, but I hope you enjoy it. So first, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what happened on Monday. So on Monday, RGVFC went up to Salt Lake City and played against the Real Monarchs. We talked about it on last week's episode. We mentioned that Real Monarchs was going to be a difficult team to play against. Didn't help matters that obviously because of Open Cup, our roster was going to be limited. And in the end, it was kind of surprising because you would expect that, previous away matches, we got like 3 goals and 2 goals against Fresno with the starting 11. And this time we were going to have, a really young, inexperienced back line. And the fact that we I guess I'm looking at the positive out of this game, out of this result. I know there's a lot of negatives, and we'll talk about that. But I think the positive is that we were able to limit Real Monarchs, who was, I believe, the top team in the Western Conference, to just 2 goals at home with such a limited roster.
For sure. It was really difficult to watch that game, but of course we have to understand it was a young squad. And with that inexperience, yes, you still have those veterans in a sense, because you had Jorginho James out there on the field playing his part for sure, but then you just have no chemistry on the field. Basically, we looked at even the goalie Nico Corti, still, you have some, I guess, just a guy that's been there from the start of this season.
Mhm.
And, of course, the first time that we really got to see Jorginho James start and those types of players, there was no chemistry whatsoever on that pitch, which made it even more difficult to play well.
So let's take a look at the starting 11. You did mention, lack of chemistry and things like that. So you mentioned Nico Corti was on goal. Obviously, he has earned his starting position. You had Bryce Marion, exciting, from what I've been told, an exciting product of the Dynamo Academy. You had Robert Castellanos, Kyle Adams back in the center back position. Then you had Sheldon Sullivan playing left back. And then in the middle, you had, as you mentioned, Jorginho James, Nicolas Perea as the captain, Zach Wright on the right mid, and then Pablo Aguilar, central attacking midfielder, Chuy Enriquez as the left winger, and then Jordan Jones finally gets the start against Real Monarchs. Real Monarchs had Leaker, Williams, Ryden, who is their top scorer, and we mentioned last week about how dangerous he was going to be if the defense did not do anything to mark him. Moberg, Gallagher, Portillo, Chang, Adams, Velasquez, Keisher, and Chandler Hoffman, who is Chandler Hoffman, who used to be with the Houston Dynamo reserves. So you take a look at this roster, these two rosters, and you would assume that Real Monarchs was going to dominate, and to be honest, I think they did.
They dominated in every way, shape, or form, except I take that back. Even on goal, they had a lot more shots, and they just had a lot more possession. And we've said over the past weeks that what RGVFC lacks of sometimes is their possession. When they don't have the ball, they seem scared. They still seem scared, even with this new kind of lineup, in a sense. And then when they had the ball, they looked dominant. They looked good, but they still were missing those last chances in a way. And of course, even though they didn't mainly get a lot of chances throughout that game, so it was a tough one. But that's basically what I saw in a way.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do the lack of chemistry, because besides these games where they played against Laredo Heat, where they played against FC Brownsville, they haven't really had a lot of time in official matches to kind of gel together. I mean, Jorginho's been out for a while. Nico Perea, it seems to me like he's an Eric Alexander. I was talking to a friend of mine on yesterday's Dynamo's game. We'll get to that eventually. But one of the things that we mentioned, I think the reason I compare Nico Perea with Eric Alexander is that Eric Alexander, if you notice, ever since Juan David Cabezas was not in the lineup, and more of the responsibility to be the pivot of the Dynamo landed on him, that's where you started seeing all these mistakes from him. His form started going down. And yes, it was just one match, but from what I saw from Nico Perea, without having Todd Warden beside him, he just didn't have as much of confidence in him. And I think the play that kind of keys in on this point or this argument that I'm making is the first goal. I mentioned it to you, to Ray, and to Cesar in the Down in the Valley chat, that in the first goal, Nico Perea was walking, and he was walking back. He should have covered Ledesma. He should have covered him, but he didn't. And so that ended up costing the Toros their first goal. I mean, the defenders tried to do whatever they can. They were in the right spots, but Ledesma was all alone, almost getting to the limit of the 18-yard box.
Exactly. And I could picture it perfectly in my head at the moment too, because there was just so much room for him to take that shot, and it just seemed like throughout that first half they were backpedaling, and that defense can only do so much. Same with Nico Corti, he can only do so much, and so they were backpedaling, and then you have Perea right there walking right there, and it's frustrating to see that type of effort played into this or into the soccer game. But of course, yeah, it goes back to chemistry, sure, but at the same time, they needed to do a better job. They have one job, they have a job, and that is to play good soccer, and they just did not play that good soccer. To give up that goal that early in the game as well was frustrating.
I think what's more frustrating to me, because I'm looking more closely right now at the highlight, and you see that Nicolas Perea was almost right alongside of Ledesma, and then Jorginho James was kind of helping, covering out on the wing because there was two players there. One of them, the one that was carrying the ball, and so he was over there like making sure, like in case the attacker went past his mark, he would be there. But you see Nico Perea, he's looking at that direction. He's not paying attention on his back to see that Ledesma is out there wide open. And so Ledesma notices, that there's a big space, especially as the play advances, because as you mentioned, the Toros defense has to backpedal because of that through ball over to Chandler Hoffman. And yes, Robert Castellanos, I think in my opinion, kind of fell with that little fake by Chandler Hoffman, because Chandler Hoffman kind of faked that he was going forward for the ball, and he just let the ball pass. And so Robert Castellanos fell for it, and he lost a lot of ground to Chandler. Chandler takes it almost all the way to the end line. Obviously, so Robert Castellanos is out of position. Kyle Adams is trying to make sure that he doesn't get a good cross into the penalty spot. And you have, I believe that is Sheldon Sullivan almost in the middle as well. But where Nicolas Perea should have been was outside the box, following Ledesma, and he just wasn't, and that was just plain intelligence by was Chandler Hoffman to find that spot with two defenders coming at him and give the ball an easy pass over to Ledesma.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it off perfectly, because we've always also talked about this team not making that final pass like they needed to, or they just completely take a shot that's unnecessary. And so, I mean, it goes back and forth. You can find that open space, but the question is, are you going to be able to finish? And in the stats, to me, it didn't seem like they finished. And sure enough, that's why you lost 2-0 on the road, because they weren't able to finish.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a lot of opportunities in the first half with corner kicks, and I just have to say that a lot of the corner kicks just really weren't that well placed, and so really most of the dangerous opportunities were by Real Monarchs. It seemed to me like RGVFC was trying to correct me if I'm wrong, but they were trying to go for a more counterattack kind of thing and just kind of launch the ball over to where Chuy Enriquez was and hope that he could do something. That's what I saw. I'm not sure what you think.
No, I definitely agree. When RGVFC, they made those those corner kicks, it was simple for the set pieces, since they weren't that well, for Real Monarchs just to control. And when the Real Monarchs controlled that, you did, like you said, they were able to just counter. When they took possession away, they were just able to go and counter constantly, yet they were still attacking more, of course, and that's what we saw. And so each time they'd go on the wide side, they try to in a way, show up Chuy Enriquez. They try and show up basically RGV's defense on those weak sides. And we've talked about it. That's where the weak sides are, on that wide side with Chuy, with all those players. And it was frustrating because that's a weak point that RGVFC can't seem to get right throughout this whole season.
No, definitely not. I mean, I really don't want to get all up on their cases. See, like, oh well, what are they practicing? But it just, to me, it just hasn't been like, I have not seen any improvement in the quality of crossing, and when Todd Warden isn't there, it's just worse. Another thing I do want to point out that we still continue to have problems defending set kicks. There's a really good opportunity that Real Monarchs had. I believe it was around. It was in the second half for some reason. Oh, there we go. Like around. Why is the? Okay, that's just weird. It doesn't have the scoreboard for some reason on that part. But it was around like in the 55th minute around there. There's a corner kick by Real Monarchs. And the attacker gets to the ball really easily, number 52, and it hits the post. And Nico Cordy's kind of out of it. But thankfully, I think it was Sheldon Sullivan that manages to clear it. But the fact that the attackers get to these crosses really easily, it continues to worry me. Like we said before, we are almost halfway through the season. And that is something that we have yet to be improved.
Yeah, halfway through the season, we're basically halfway through, or if not, past halfway, because the Open Cup always, in my opinion, always says we're halfway. Let's start this tournament up for USL teams / and also for MLS teams. Mm-hmm. That's what, in my opinion, is technically halfway. And so of course we all know the situation, that why RGVFC can't get those players, but at the same time, with the stuff that you have to train well. And I know Jerson has noticed, and even the trainers and all of those, the trainers and all the coaching staff has noticed that what is their weak spot. And why aren't they trying to fill that gap in a way as just train them and say, look, you're doing this wrong. Let's try and fix it. Because we saw that Nico Cordy has noticed a lot of what he's been doing wrong. Why isn't that working for everyone else? Why aren't they really figuring that out for themselves? I know they might be, because this is a pretty mature team. But at that same time, it just game after game after game, it just looks like the same problems.
Definitely, but it now becomes a question of can the coaches really do anything at this point? Because you would assume that most of that knowledge, how to defend, yes, it can be learned, through practice, but at the same time, you're at a point where you should know, you should get the gist of how to do it by now. Obviously, I don't know. Like I've never played pro soccer. Obviously, let's just look at me. But I just feel like we're at the point where the coach can only do so much, and it's up to the player to get better. And in most cases, defending free kicks hasn't really been that great, and it's also, I guess you can say, it's an organization issue, because I believe the Dynamo has some of those problems as well, in the first team.
Yeah, noticed it. Of course, it was the Open Cup last night, but I noticed that part even on I believe it was Saturday. Yes, Saturday when Houston played their regular season match. But it's just, with that management, it goes both ways, because RGVFC, we all know, is technically owned by Houston. So guess who's managing Houston? Chris Canetti. Yes. And it goes all the way up to Houston, the board, where they're just not doing things correctly for Houston / RGV. So you put those two together, and that's why we still see those same holes. So of course, I can get into, well, Houston Dynamo has had a lot of injuries, and they're about to get a lot of players back. But of course, this is RGV we're talking about, and RGV, yes, they got players taken away. That can't just be your little starting core right there. That can't just be the core that can gel together. You need other players to gel together there and make those differences happen.
I definitely agree. I guess if we want to get on the subject, it seems to me, because most other teams, MLS teams with affiliates, they sent down players that they're not using to their USL teams to get minutes. And last year, the Dynamo did not have a problem with injuries, and yet there was that problem. There were so many players that didn't get minutes and were not sent down to RGV. And then, you see, with Open Cup, the problem I see, and one of the things I was analyzing last night is because I saw a lot of comments in regards to Aldo Quintanilla after yesterday's game. And everyone's like, "Whoa, we should sign him already because he'll bring Mano to some competition and things like that." I'm like, at least give us time to find Aldo Quintanilla's replacement. Because if you just grab him and give him a first-string contract during the middle of the season, okay, now we're one less man on the roster. We don't have a replacement. So for somebody that has been doing good things for us, and what happens, our results start getting worse because just remember what the announcer or what the commentator said during the broadcast of the Real Monarchs game. Out of the whole team that played on Monday, that's only one goal, and that was Chuy Enriquez. Most of the goals were scored by players who were with the Dynamo for the Open Cup, and so this puts RGV handling these transfers like that puts RGV in a predicament, especially where your goal scoring opportunities, your chances, your creation, is so concentrated in just a couple of players, and those are the players that you're thinking of moving up to the first team. It's a touchy subject. I promised myself I was not going to touch on it today because I'm just frankly I'm tired of repeating myself, not just this season but last season as well, and I feel that it just falls on deaf ears. So I don't want to say I give up, but I can't keep on stressing myself over this.
Yeah. It's the same with me. I'm tired of how they're being treated and things like that. But once again, it's from the top. It's Chris Canetti, things like that. Just the moves and things. And we all know, sadly, this is probably going to happen because it's just been a mess of how it's been. But Aldo Quintanilla most likely is going to get signed by Houston. And there's no need for him to get signed. Why? Mara Manotas has been doing really well this season, as well as, guess who? Romel Kyoto, Albert Elise. Houston has strikers. They don't need more. RGVFC, they're low on players enough. And so it's frustrating to think that he's probably going to get signed to Houston, and he probably will. And it is an annoying subject because we all know probably no one's from the front office is going to listen to this, and they don't listen to the fans so far. So, what is there to do?
I mean, I have to disagree on the Morrow aspect. I feel he has a lot left to he's left a lot to be desired this season. Is it because of the change in tactics between last year and this year? Maybe, but Mauro Manotas has not been as consistent as he was last year, coming off the bench for Kubo Torres, and who's behind him? Max Steves. And it seems that there's might be something about Max Steves that maybe is not what's the word I'm looking for? Convincing Wilmer Cabrera to give him minutes. I mean, yesterday was a perfect opportunity to see Max Steves, as a starter. I mean, you had you were going up against an amateur team. He's already part of your roster. Might as well give him minutes, so that way he can get some more chemistry with his fellow teammates. And yet he didn't play. He didn't play at all. It was Aldo Quintanilla that played. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves on this. We'll talk about the Open Cup in a little bit. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much things are. The signs are pointing that Aldo Quintanilla might be signed by the Dynamo in the near future. I mean, as a player, I'll be super. In the player aspect of Aldo Quintanilla, I'm super happy. I would be super happy if he gets signed by the Dynamo. But two, I'd also be worried. Wait, what if he doesn't even get minutes, and then he's stuck in limbo? Like a couple of our players were last year. And number two is how is RGVFC going to counteract his absence if he is signed? So there's a lot to talk about, or think about actually, in regards to that. That maybe a lot of Dynamo fans, may not be thinking about. Why? Because a couple of them don't even know about RGV, and two, a lot of them could even care less about what happens at RGV. So that stuff doesn't, like how Toros is gonna work, doesn't really cross their minds, and I don't blame them. Like I said, I don't blame them. I mean, they're fans of the Dynamo, and they're gonna focus on the Dynamo. But in the same aspect, you have a lot of fans at RGV who only care about RGVFC. Or they're fans of RGVFC, but they're fans of other MLS teams, so they could care less about what happens with the Dynamo. And so that's where I believe this whole breakup, or not, a breaking of relations between RGV fans and Dynamo fans that have been occurring these past few days on social media. I think that's where the core of the problem is that their attention is on their respective teams, but yet there's very few people who are willing to listen to the other side and listen to their gripes, their concerns of how this relationship is being handled by the Houston Dynamo with RGVFC. And you have a lot of fans from RGV saying, hey, you know what? I was a fan of the Dynamo, not anymore. Or I've even seen some comments saying, oh, you know what? San Antonio is not our primary rival now. It's our own. It's the Houston Dynamo that's our rival now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. In my opinion, there's nothing more to say about this besides just at this point, it's pick one side. And I've somehow been able to keep both teams apart, in my opinion, as in, yeah, I'll still root for Houston because I know what's happening. And my belief is, of course, it's just the front office for Houston that doesn't care. We got Chris Canetti all the way down. And so then I know there really needs to be a split. We talked about it in that one long episode about this. So I'll really just make it quick because, yeah, there's nothing more to really say about it.
Yeah. and I know there's Dynamo fans listening right now. I know there's RGVFC fans listening right now. And I think the last thing I'm going to say about this matter is just be willing to listen to the other side, for both sides. Be willing to listen and get involved with constructive dialogue, between each other. That's the only way we're gonna learn, how, to get together and maybe find a solution. Maybe front office was not gonna care about the solution, but at least with the last thing I want, and I mentioned it to you all in the staff chat. The last thing I want is a rupture between RGVFC fans and Dynamo fans. And so be willing to listen to each other's sides, and don't be so quick to put down or shrug off the concerns of whether the Dynamo side or the RGV side. I mean, there has to be a way to find a solution to this, and I feel like if both fan bases get along, I think maybe there might be some way where both fan bases can influence front office to make this better, because at the end, if RGV is run correctly, then it's gonna be a bigger benefit for the Dynamo, because this process will be streamlined without really affecting either side. And I think that's the best way to put it, in my opinion. So let's just go ahead and finish our discussion for the Real Monarchs game. So in the 70th minute, you had what was his name? Cashier, score another goal. Like I said, it's the 69th, 70th minute, and there was another play where the lack of experience of our defense really shot us in the foot, because you had Bryce Marion in the middle of the pitch acting like a center back, because everybody else, Castellanos, Kyle Adams, Sheldon Sullivan, they were all up in their left hand side, because that is where the assister was dribbling the ball from. And so they did not look back and see that Cashier was all alone running into the box. And so as the play continues, you have three players, RGB players in one area, in one section of the box, and Cashier all alone, like I said, all up on the other side. The ball gets to him. The reception was not great. That gave Bryce Marion kind of time to make him uncomfortable. But Nico Cordy, in his desperation to try to make something, they both get in each other's way. And so Cashier, like a clinical striker that he is, manages to find a space between both Bryce Marion and Nico Cordy and slot the ball inside the goal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a nice finish from him for the shot, because, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I watched it not too long ago. It did end up in the top corner, if I'm not mistaken, top or close to the top left, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, nice finish. Of course, it once again, it's in a way a breakdown of the defense. Just that it's like the defense wasn't pressing enough on the guy, and so that's, in my opinion, what really, in a way, caused him to be able to score. Of course, it wasn't like the first goal where they were just able to bang play, where they were able to find a lot of open room. No, this, I think, was a bit tighter, but just like I said, defense needs to do a better job, and of course, when you get into the box, that's basically when you know you've messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel that play could have been avoided if Bryce Marion was positioned correctly, because I felt Bryce Marion did not really do that bad, compared to the others. There is some potential in him, and coming up against this high class offense, he didn't really look out of place for the most part until this shot. But it is also that lack of experience, and hopefully, like I said on Twitter, if he continues to get minutes and develop alongside Kai Green, alongside Manny Padilla, I think we might be looking at a future starter. The next in line in this conveyor belt. And so we really hope that Bryce Marion is not another Lucatero, where he was hyped up to be the next best thing out of the academy, and in the end, it was a dud. So, I don't know. The RGV Academy still has a long way to go still. So we have to rely right now in the short term on whatever the Dynamo Academy brings up. So, and speaking of the Houston Dynamo, yesterday they had their Open Cup match here at BBVA Compass Stadium here in Houston. They played against NTX North Texas Rayados. And the North Texas Rayados are an amateur team. I'm sure you saw the video that the U.S. Open Cup posted about them. You have a lot of teachers, school teachers, playing in that team, and that's all good. And so they have the opportunity of their life, to come and play at a professional first division stadium against a first division team. And for this game, the Dynamo called up 7 players from RGVFC. They called up Aldo Quintanilla, Chuy Enriquez, Todd Warden, Manny Padilla. That's 4. John Montaño, Matias Saldivar, and I know I'm missing one. Do you remember who the last one was? Cannot remember. Oh, Ontiveros. Ontiveros was also called up. So those are your 7 RGVFC players that were called up for Open Cup. And so, Jacob, what did you think of these players that were called up? Independent of, in the eyes of a Houston Dynamo fan, what did you think?
Oh yeah, in the eyes of a Houston Dynamo fan, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought those were the smart moves for sure. Because yes, you got Aldo Quintanilla, and not only is he, on the team, he's starting, and then of course, Manny Padilla right there, Chuy Enriquez. It's perfect. It's a perfect lineup for you to get a team more minutes, especially in a first division stadium. Yes, it's a friendly for those guys in a way, because you get a lot more growth. You're with a different coach, which is Wilmer Cabrera. He knows how RGV is, so you can talk to him easily, things like that. And I thought it was I thought those were fantastic picks from them.
Yeah, they were the best of the best. I think if anything, and we talked about it before, maybe John Montaño, maybe not so much. But other than that, they're the best that RGVFC had to offer. And so getting minutes with the Dynamo first team, especially to the new guys like Chuy, like Aldo, like Matias Saldivar, that was like a dream come true for them. and they were out there. They were hungry to prove something out there, and they did not. Honestly, they did not fail. In my eyes, I mean, I was there at the stadium, and you saw the same hunger you see out of Aldo Quintanilla in the with the Toros. You saw it. You saw it with the Dynamo. He was out there fighting, trying to win the ball back. He was out there looking for space. Making sure he had an open alley towards the goal. He was calling for the ball. He was very participative during the game, and I love that about Aldo Quintanilla, because he's just not there, just sitting there and just waiting for the ball to get to him. He moves around so that way he gets himself open in order to receive the ball, and he plays well. I think he played well with Eric. I think he played well with Arturo, and I think a lot of Dynamo fans saw that and were very, very pleased.
For sure. Aldo came out with a fire that, I mean, yes, I had seen at RGV, but at the same time, I think a little bit more, because he knew, if I can impress these people, I can actually go to the first team, or, well, not the first team, but I can actually go to Houston. I can improve, what's the word, basically? I can
move up.
I can advance my career. Yeah, I can advance my career, basically. And so he came out there with a fire and a passion, and it was perfect, because, sure, I saw more of him and that team in the second half than in the first, because, in my opinion, they did struggle a lot more in the first half.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is that even NTX Rayados had that special confidence boost that, I mean, we're already here. We're playing in a first division stadium. It's a dream come true for most, if not all, of the guys. So they're out there trying to prove something as well. They want to also move up. Maybe catch the eye of a professional team scout that's watching the Open Cup match. Playing up against a first division team, and then hopefully getting signed, or at least given the opportunity to try out with these professional teams. And so they played really well. They were able to hold the Houston Dynamo in the first half, but the second half, the fitness just wasn't there. I mean, it is an amateur team, so they don't have like the exercises, the routines, to build up on fitness. So by the second half, most of the players were already super tired. A lot of them, started to rely on fouls to try to stop the Houston Dynamo. And at the end, the Houston Dynamo / RGVFC proved to be too much for these young guys. And credit to them. I applaud them, because they played their heart. They left everything on the pitch. And so the NTX Rayados fans are really proud, and they earn my respect.
Oh, for sure. That whole first half was fantastic, of course. You're obviously going to see a decrease in, or not momentum, but you're just going to see a decrease in fitness come second half. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know they play a whole 45 minutes, or 90-minute games, but at that same time, it's different, and it's tougher. And yeah, I applaud them for sure, just like you, because that second half, sure, they did rely on fouls, but if I was a team that was amateurs and I was losing hope in a way, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, I really, really agree. And in the first half, you even saw a couple of plays by NTX Rayados. Maybe they didn't have the best of shots, but they got themselves to Chris Seitz' box and tried to look for dangerous opportunities to try and score. I know they relied a lot on Sase, who is one of their strikers. He was really fast. Manny Padilla in some portions of the match had a tough time trying to stop him, and Connor Donovan had to go out and help him with some really good slide tackles to avoid dangerous opportunities by NTX Rayados.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, that first half, they made Chris Seitz work for it. They made Chris Seitz stretch out a couple of times and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then you also look at Houston. They looked like they started off slow, in my opinion. And I could tell that they were still kind of gelling together in a way.
Mm-hmm.
They were missing a couple of opportunities like we have seen in technically RGV, because a lot of them were RGV players. They were missing those last passes, or they were making too many passes. And so it hurt them from taking the lead of 1 or 2-0 up in that first half. So it was interesting to see that kind of build from what had happened in that first half to what ended up happening in the second half.
I think the main aspect that I saw there at the stadium from the big difference was Arturo Alvarez in the first half just was not there. He was put in the wing, and he was one of those players that he tried every time he tried to cross it, it always landed on an NTX Rayados defender. And so there were very few opportunities, a few crosses that gave Aldo an advantage to try and get a shot at the goal. And so I think I was talking with a buddy of mine there, and we were both talking like, man, like why is it that Arturo Alvarez, not even against an amateur team, can show his talent? And maybe it's age, and I don't know, but it's been a consistent topic as well in Generation Orange that Arturo Alvarez just really has not shown what he was capable of, or what we thought he was capable of. And so let me just go back and talk about the starting 11. Starting 11 for the Houston Dynamo were Chris Seitz on goal, Manny Padilla, Connor Donovan, Alejandro Fuenmayor, Kevin Garcia and on defense, Eric Bird and Todd Warden in the central defensive midfield, Arturo Alvarez out on the right mid, Luis Gil, central attacking midfield, Memo Rodriguez left midfield, Aldo Quintanilla as the striker. So right here, like I mentioned, Arturo Alvarez just looked out of place out there on the wing, but Eric Bird, holy smokes. He looked boss out there. He had the confidence. He got along well with Todd Warden, obviously because they both played in RGV, so they kind of still had a little bit of that chemistry. But there were many times where he was not afraid to go out and clash with an NTX Rayados attacker, and I thought Eric Bird looked really, really, really well. The back line, it was mostly RGV players or ex-RGV players with Kevin Garcia, Connor Donovan, Manny Padilla. Fuenmayor, the reason he played, obviously because he was suspended for 2 games. So that's the reason why he started. What did you think?
Yeah, like you said, Eric Bird looked really well. He started beside a guy that he knew. It's just like FIFA Ultimate Team. You have those lines that maybe they will be good together with chemistry or maybe not. And so that was a perfect setup right there. Of course, you had Alejandro Fuenmayor starting. And not to mention a couple of the bench players too, like Felipe Senderos was on and he got sent in. And I enjoyed watching him play. Sure, he got in and committed a foul, which ended up being a yellow card, but it did help. It did help him get minutes again because he's been out for a while. And then just the players that from RGV that were actually really good was amazing to watch. And yeah, like just a really good start for these players, and of course, I hope we make it far into a run because they could really make a difference, or this tournament, excuse me, could really make a difference with these young guys.
Yeah, definitely. So, the first goal was made by Memo Rodriguez, which is a cross, lands on his feet, takes the shot, gets gets blocked by a defender, but the rebound lands to him again, and he just takes the shot again out of a volley and slots it on goal. Second goal was really good play by Aldo Quintanilla and Eric Bird. Eric Bird with a beautiful through pass to Aldo Quintanilla, who uses his speed to leave the defender behind and just slots it, with a curved shot past the goalkeeper. A couple minutes later, Memo Rodriguez gets fouled in the box. Penalty is given, as well as a red card for the NTX Rayados, and Memo Rodriguez himself slots it in for the 3-0. Then it was Matias Saldivar who came in from the bench for, I believe it was Luis Gil, gets a shot as well, curls it past the goalkeeper, who I feel may have gotten a touch to it, but was not enough to get it off of the goal. And then in stoppage time, he had Aldo Quintanilla with a 1-2 pass between him and Arturo Alvarez. Fakes and dribbles past the goalkeeper and just slots it in on an open goal for the final 5-0. And so, like I said, because of this performance, a lot of Dynamo fans are starting to keep a good look at Aldo Quintanilla. And so maybe that might allow some of these curious Dynamo fans to pay a closer attention to RGV games to see how he's progressing over there. So I think that might be, I guess you can say, a blessing in disguise for the RGVFC Toros.
Exactly. That's what RGVFC was meant to be, sadly, for the RGVFC fans, obviously. But it's for these players like Aldo to show that they have talent in these Open Cup games and then draw eyes from those Houston Dynamo fans to try and pay attention to them. And once that happens, you see an improvement. The coach sees more of an improvement. You bring them up. As long as they show that on that level, on that number one level, then they should be fine, and they should be able to be a bench warmer for about 2 more years and then actually maybe start. And we've seen it with Memo. That's why this system can work. It's just a matter of it's got to be used the right way. And I think with Aldo, with us seeing how Aldo could really be benefited from this whole thing, we might see a change.
I really hope so, because there has to be some sort of patience involved, and that all starts with how the Dynamo front office handles the rosters. Because if they keep on thinning out the Dynamo roster because they're like, oh well, we can just grab a player from RGV and to fill the roster, then that's not going to work, because you're going to get these players when they're still underdeveloped at RGVFC. Maybe they're getting some good minutes, but they're still not developed yet to be useful in an MLS competition. And so then what happens is you get players like Charlie, players like Malky, who get released by the Dynamo because, they just have them there. They're not getting minutes. Malky getting injured as well. So you pretty much just wasted, the really good players because you took them out too early.
Exactly. And of course, we've talked about it before. That can't happen, but it might happen with Aldo. But if you let him stay for maybe the rest of the season, give him that. If you see improvement near the end, maybe bring him up for playoffs, just like you see those in a way high school like JV stars, and then they bring them up to varsity for that playoff game or something like that. Maybe you could do that to give them an insight of what an atmosphere of that standard is like. Something in that nature could be good.
Yeah, but it's out of our hands, and we hope that the Dynamo coaching staff and front office at least put this suggestion in consideration. So we kind of touched up on the subject, and before we talk about RGVFC versus Portland Timbers, there were a couple of news that came out today. One of them is rumored, kind of confirmed, but not confirmed by the team. According to Cal Mankey, who is the host of a fellow Beautiful Game Network podcast, Texas Soccer Radio, which covers San Antonio FC. He wrote an article today for a website it is called. I'll go ahead and retweet it, but it's called. Where are you? No, where is it? Come on. It's called Offside, calledoffside.com. And I'll go ahead and retweet it right now that I found it. But this article mentions that RGVFC alum Charlie Ward is close to signing with San Antonio FC. I'll let that sink in for a little bit. It's ridiculous, in my point of view, that that's already technically the fourth ex-RGV, ex-Dynamo organization product that has signed with San Antonio FC. First one being Sebastian Ibeaga, then it was Jose Escalante, then Kyle Murphy, and now Charlie Ward. The fan favorite has been signed by our arch nemesis, San Antonio FC. I don't blame Charlie one bit for accepting. And I've mentioned it many times, said it as well when Kyle Murphy was signed by San Antonio FC. What they want is minutes. And if a team comes to them and tells you, hey, you know what, we'll sign you and you'll get some minutes with us. They don't care if it's their former team's adversary. What they want, number one, get minutes to play. Number two, their source of income. They have players. They're humans. They have bills to pay. Some of them have families to feed. In the case of Escalante. So obviously they're going to accept, San Antonio FC's offer. So I know there was probably a couple of fans out there that maybe are dissing Charlie Ward for doing this. Don't. Think about the human side aspect of it. He has bills to pay. He needs a source of income. San Antonio offers it to him. Fine. In the end, he's a professional. He wants to play soccer. And if they offer him that, he's going to accept it. What I don't accept is the fact that the Houston Dynamo that's another player with a lot, and going back to our argument about how they get these players early, find out they're not ready, and just releasing them. out there into the market just like that. And it's San Antonio who just comes and swipes these players from our system in order to play them. Now, is it intentional to give a big middle finger to RGVFC fans by San Antonio? I highly doubt it. The way I see it is that San Antonio sees the potential of these players that the Houston Dynamo did not. And so they're proven, they're quality. Instead of scouting other places with players that maybe they don't have much information about them. I mean, Charlie played 2 years with RGV. He showed the quality. Or 1.5 years with RGV, but he showed the quality, especially against San Antonio. They know how professional he is. Of course they're gonna leap for this opportunity. I don't know what you think, but that's my point of view on this Charlie Ward transfer.
Okay, just get ready, be prepared for my take, because it's kind of the same with you, but just like this. You cannot, in any fact, blame any of the former RGVFC players for leaving, because like you said, personal needs and things like that. They want to get paid. They want money. They want to play soccer for their career. Perfect. Sign with a team that offers you money. Sign with the team. It doesn't matter who. And that's exactly what they did. And then, of course, that's just it's just a big middle finger to guess who? Houston Dynamo. You can't see the potential in us? Well, screw you. We're going off to San Antonio because they're offering us money. They're offering us maybe a first team. If not, well, bench, but we'll still get minutes. We'll be on the bench, which is epic. So it's perfect for them. I love that they have decided to go to SAFC because they are continuing their career. SAFC has no affiliate team that will end up taking them and maybe dropping them. So it's a perfect way for them to gain more experience and get back up on their dream of becoming a even more professional soccer player.
Definitely. And another thing I do want to add to your point is that, and it totally left me. But I guess what I'm trying to say as well is that it is also a big... Oh, here it is. Got it back. So I think it's the best way to hopefully open some eyes, because I don't think it would hurt as bad having released these players if they went to another team. If they went to another team, like, oh, okay, oh, well, whatever. Okay, they're gone. That's fine. Okay, they're doing their thing. But the fact that they went with the rival sparks up a feeling from the fans. And you see RGV, the people that work at RGV see this and they're like, holy crap, what the hell is going on here? Like, they're moving to our biggest rival. I mean, something has to be done. And it just seems to me, and I posted this on Twitter, that it's almost as if San Antonio is I think who put it like that? I think it was Johnny. Johnny put it that San Antonio is the farm team of the farm team. Because we're the ones discovering. It goes up to the Dynamo, and then San Antonio gets the scraps of what's already been discovered. So, but my take was that, man, it's almost like we are instead of developing players for the Dynamo, we're developing them for San Antonio.
We are. We basically are doing that exact thing. And you can't blame San Antonio. You just cannot blame them. You see free agents in the market that you've watched, that you've studied for film, for basically rivalry, and you see this guy is really good. We've got to cover this guy. And then he's on the market. This could be a huge aspect for our team. Boom, we're going to take this guy. It's a dream come true for us. That's exactly what San Antonio is saying. It's Christmas in July for them. It's Christmas in March. It's Christmas
in June,
almost every month.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are players that, under common sense, you wouldn't see them in the free agency for the USL because they're good. They have talent, and they've proven it. But Dynamo, looking at it through MLS standards, they're like, no, I don't need them. Bye-bye. And obviously San Antonio, being so close to Houston, so close to the Valley, they're going to be the fastest one to grab this talent and bring it in onto their fold. and obviously the San Antonio fans are enjoying this because we're like, oh, this is like a haha moment. We're like, yeah, we got, like, now it's even worse because they got our fan favorite. How is Charlie going to take this? I mean, obviously he's going to be very professional, and he's going to embrace the San Antonio fans just like Kyle Murphy did. But like I said, I don't know how RGV fans will take this. Best case scenario, they use this as more leverage as to prove that this system, the way it's currently working, is not working. Worst case scenario, they'll want to take it out on Charlie. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I am hopeful, and I have trust that that's not going to happen. Sure, you'll get the banter like during the 90 minutes of like putting pressure on Charlie, but I don't want any like getting involved like with like personal matters or like outside those 90 minutes to get some sort, some hatred for Charlie Ward for just doing his job, or for Kyle. Well, Escalante, yes, get mad at him, but for a different reason, because he gave us he nos faltó el respeto. Like, he was very disrespectful, looking back. So that, but obviously don't get his family involved. Obviously, just wanted to put it out there. But I don't know. Good luck to Charlie with San Antonio. Offer not valid during South Texas Derbies, obviously. But I hope he really gets what he deserves, and that is minutes and consistency, which is something that the Dynamo just frankly did not care to give him. So, you have anything else to add on this subject?
Not really. Of course, yeah, we basically said it all. I'd like to see him get involved in a bit of friendly banter during the week leading up to the rivalry, but not too crazy. And he's super mature. He's a crazy mature dude. That's why he was such a big use to RGVFC, because super mature, deserved a captain's armband, and just things like that. And so, good luck to the guy.
Yeah. So we're gonna have Ray on in a little bit, and that way he can give his opinion on the subject. But in the meantime, I do want to mention the other piece of news that came out. This one not really much of a big of an impact, but ex-RGV goalkeeper from last year, Borja Anguitia, has recently signed today with Toronto FC 2. So he finally got a team as well. This time it wasn't with San Antonio, but with Toronto FC 2. So good luck, Borja, on your new on your new journey. I know there's a lot of talk whether he was good, whether he was not, but in the end, he was not re-signed by RGVFC. We now have Nico Cordy, who has done an excellent job. So we just pretty much just thank him for what he did, and now he's got another future with Toronto FC2. What's up, Ray?
Good evening, Edson.
And Jacob.
And Jacob, how are you, sir?
We're good. We're good. We a little bit bummed out. We were just talking about the news of Charlie Ward apparently signing with San Antonio, and
you called it a few weeks back. I'll give you a tip of the hat on that.
Actually, it was my source that kind of tipped it away, and that event that happened after after the San Antonio Derby, and you know what I'm talking about. I won't say it live out of due respect, out of where it came from, but we had an idea. Thank you, Escalante, for the intentions of San Antonio in regards to Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
But we've said our thoughts on this subject. What are yours?
It's sad to see an iconic player go. It really is. I mean, here's a guy who literally had a typo to him. God save the Queen. God bless Charlie Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope he does well, but not against us.
Definitely.
I mean, that's just my thoughts on the entire situation. Now, one player that I've been monitoring around is one Emilio Garcia. I just hope he's not I hope he's not one of those that also jumps ship to the team on 281.
Well, as far as I know, Emilio Garcia, I know there are people that have been asking. So he is not signed by the Toros, but yet you see him many times, especially after the game in the locker rooms or right by the locker rooms. You see him you see him there, and nobody really has been able to give me a clear answer as to what his status is. It's just that he wasn't signed, but he's just sticking around. I don't know if he's training with the Toros, just training, or what's going on with him. But it is surprising seeing as though if I'm not mistaken, he came on a loan from Pachuca.
Mm-hmm.
So it is surprising to see that he's stuck around in the Valley.
Yeah, maybe he did get released by Pachuca. We don't know the gist of it of that yet.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to kind of dig up on that subject to see what's going on with that. I mean, I thought Emilio was a really good player last year and in the year before. But I guess he just didn't fit the Gerson Echeverry's vision of what he wanted from RGV. Yet, I think what we need now are wingers, and I think Emilio Garcia would be a great addition. I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets signed in the middle of the season. I honestly don't know. It all depends on him, how he's doing, if he's still training, or maybe he's battling an injury. I don't know. But I think if that were the case, we would have already known that one way or another. So will be interesting to. I wish I had contacts, in Liga MX as well, to find out what's his status on his loan with Pachuca, or how it was handled. Was he released? And more surprisingly, like, that he is still here. He's still here in the Valley even after not being signed. One would assume like maybe like he'd go back to like maybe his native hometown or somewhere, but he's stuck around in the Valley. So maybe a good sign, maybe a bad sign, or maybe it's just some sort of, maybe he just likes the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know, but so you, I don't know. It's just sad. This going back to the whole Charlie Ward thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, you have anything for us, Ray, that you want to talk about?
Well, just to kind of recap this cup game and how our players did, I would not be surprised during the short-term contract for Aldo Quintanilla to stay up there. I would not be surprised.
I think my big question, Sean, if you're listening to the stream or if you're able to listen to my voice right now, these short contracts, are they only for that one specific game? Is that I thought that's how it worked. Like for Open Cup, like you get a one match short-term contract.
Usually my understanding of these short-term contracts, it's like the equivalent of an NBA 10-day contract.
Mm-hmm.
Where you, like, within that 10-day period of time frame, if there's games during that 10-day period, you stay up with the first team. Unless the club decides, you know what, we'll cut our losses here. We'll send you back down, go get your game conditioning, and we'll call you when we need you, type of thing.
The reason I say I think that it's just for the match was because I talked to Aldo real quickly after the Open Cup match, and he made the comments. He made the comments saying, "See you this Saturday and for the RGV game." So that's why I think these contracts are only for that game and the days leading up to that game, so they can practice with be part of the first team.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, at some point last year there were a few of our players taken up, and they were up there for at least a couple of days when they signed those short-term contracts. So, so I wouldn't be surprised if he stays up there for the weekend game against Portland or Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Because like I said, the thing about it is, though, I mean, why would the Dynamo keep him here? If I'm not mistaken, the next Open Cup match is, what is it, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now?
Yep, 2 to 3 weeks from now. But still, I mean, they may want to just keep them a hold of them, just to get them that experience of what a first team contract potentially may look like for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my point of view with Aldo Quintanilla and some of these players that were signed up to short-term contracts. Of course, they could be sent down tomorrow morning for all we know.
Yeah. Let me send Sean a message. Hopefully he can answer this real quick. That way we can kind of lose all doubts about this subject.
Watch him come crash the party like he did last week.
Nah, he's writing. Yeah, so okay.
He would be a good party crasher for this.
So, Jacob and Ray.
Yes.
In your opinions, we know that Aldo Quintanilla played for 90. So did Manny Padilla. Okay, so he says they are for X number of days, but usually just for the one match. So you can expect these 7 players to be back with RGV for Saturday. But the question I was talking about is, you know that Manny Padilla played 90. You know that Aldo Quintanilla played 90. And the others, not including Omar Ontiveros nor Chuy Enriquez, they played for at least part of the second half. Which players would you field, or would you put them all on most of them on the bench against Portland 2?
Jacob, I'll give you the stage first.
All right. Well, who would I end up putting on the bench first for the PTFC 2 game? Well, we all know that most of them played 90 minutes. So I'd say the bench first, for sure. I would put. Well, yeah, I'd give Jorginho James a start, so that would leave out
Todd Wharton.
Todd Wharton, exactly.
Yeah, because he played 90 minutes as well.
Exactly, leave him in the bench, which would be a good rest, and it would be nice to see if Jorginho James could hold it in the first half, give them rest, boom, switch it out second half. And, I mean, most of the starters, basically, I would send to the bench. I would keep, though, Aldo Quintanilla starting for sure, because I think, in a way, yes, he didn't have enough rest, but we've seen that he's been able to play 90 minutes consistently.
Okay. Ray?
Well, Quintanilla played 90, and I obviously see him playing 30 minutes against Portland Timbers to let them get worn out in the hot summer. This is a Timbers 2 team that has struggled against us recently when they come down. So I'm thinking Quintanilla comes in maybe 60th, 65th minute at the latest. I would start Chuy Enriquez.
Okay.
Todd Wharton would be a halftime substitution as well. Todd Wharton might also be a substitution as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have Ontiveros. He might get the start only because of how we're at defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Donovan's going to stay up there for a while.
Yes.
So that's going to be a minus defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. This would be my projected back line. Kai Green, Kyle Adams, Ontiveros, and oh boy, help me out here. And
would you keep Sheldon Sullivan?
Yes, I would do Sheldon Sullivan. Yes.
Okay. So,
get him some playing time.
Mm-hmm. So here
midfield.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Midfield, Jorginho James, and then you would have to pluck up or play a little bit from behind Monday at Tim.
Mm-hmm.
As a winger, like make him as a makeshift winger.
Okay.
And then on the other side, Chuy Enriquez.
Okay.
And then you would have a front line of 3.
So you would be playing with a you said
4-3-3.
4-3-3.
Yep.
Okay. So here comes my prediction for the starting 11. Obviously, Nico Cordy, Kai Green, Robert Castellanos, Omar Ontiveros, Kyle Adams playing left back because he's played there most of the minutes in the season. 2 defensive midfielders, Jorginho James and Nico Perea. Chuy Enriquez because he didn't get any minutes. Pablo Aguilar. And I would have Monday Etim in playing as the winger as well. I really don't see. I see more of Zach Wright coming in as a sub. So I think I would give Monday Etim more opportunity to get some more minutes, and then maybe have Zach Wright coming in, and then up on top, I'd give Jordan Jones another opportunity, and then have maybe Aldo Quintanilla coming in, maybe like with 30 minutes to go or 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's my plan as well.
So, Nico Cordy, Kai Green, Robert Castellanos, Omar Ontiveros, Kyle Adams, Chuy Enriquez, Nico Perea, Jorginho James, Monday Etim, and Jordan Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I doubt Jerson Echeverry will want to deviate from the 4-2-3-1 formation.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob?
I agree. The 4-2-3-1 formation has always been my go-to because of the fact that I believe it is just the most. It's just the best. It really does work with this team. Nico Cordy at goal for sure. And of course, I think you keep the back line the same. I think you put in Chuy Enriquez, of course. And maybe Donovan. I'm not entirely sure with this guy because, yes, he also did play close to 90 minutes. So it'll be. We'll figure out what Jerson has planned coming hours till match time, but 4-2-3-1 for sure is what we'll most likely do, and the starting lineup, in my opinion, will still be a toss-up.
Yeah. Another aspect would be the
only reason I would change it up to a 4-3-3 is because of the personnel available and because of the play time that some of these players got during the cup match. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why I changed up the formation a little bit. And yes, it still has the same foundation of a 4-3-2-1, but I'm just going based on what's available for selection.
Mm-hmm. So let's take a look quickly before we sign off, because it's about 12 minutes till 9 o'clock. So let's take a look a little bit about our rival, Portland Timbers 2. Portland Timbers 2 comes into this game with a 7-4-2 record, and their away record is 3-3-2. Three wins, 3 losses, 2 draws. Their last 5 matches, they tied 0-0 against St. Louis FC. They also They beat Seattle Sounders 2-1-0. They beat LA Galaxy 7-3. They beat Real Monarchs 3-1 or 1-0. Lost to San Antonio FC 2-1.
Interesting fact about Portland Timbers 2 is that they had a couple of Portland Timber 2 guys play in the Open Cup as well. So we may be experiencing a shorthanded Portland Timbers 2 bench as well.
Mm-hmm.
Having that they did play Open Cup midweek, and I want to say it was Abel Lease that had a nice, wonderful. Yep. He had a goal in Open Cup.
Mm-hmm. Who did they play?
Oh man, I want to say.
Let me take a look.
Man, they were.
They beat San Jose Earthquakes 2-0.
Yep.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Ebobisse and Dairon Aspirilla with the goals.
Aspria, yes.
Hmm.
Yep, Aspria. He was another guy that spent time in Timbers too for a little bit last season.
Hmm.
So he's so we might be seeing shorthanded teams this weekend.
That'll be interesting to see who's able to bounce back faster from that disadvantage, you can say.
Yeah, and let's just say that Portland Timbers. This is going to be like another road game for them because remember they did send us B squad to San Jose, so.
Hmm.
So some of those guys that played in midweek, we may be seeing them get a start down here in the Valley.
Yeah, definitely. Now, if only I could find the. Hate all these ads in transfer market, because I always love talking about the records coming into this game. Oh, here they are. So fixtures and then record versus. So RGVFC on their history, we have played Timbers 2 5 times. We have won once, tied once, and lost 3 times with a goal difference of -1. History is not in our favor against the Timbers 2.
Nope. In fact, the Villian Vichev, I think he got the game winner last year at HEB Park, right before he got traded off to Sacramento Republic. Villian Vichev, who nearly won the Golden Boot for most assists in the USL not too long ago either. Big mistake by Portland letting him go.
Yeah, and that game ended 3-2. It was in the 30th minute, Omar Ontiveros scored, and then in the 56th, Jeremy Ebobisse, then Jack Barmby, and then Foster Langsdorff with the header made it 3-1, and then at the end, in the 81st minute, Todd Warden assisted by his. Oh wait, no, this is the past one. What am I thinking? All right, here we go. So the last game for last season was a 1-1 draw, and that happened at HEB Park. Goal scorers were Bill Toloma and the 92nd minute, and then Kai Green in the 93rd minute gets the
Yes,
the
I remember
equalizer.
that crazy game.
Yeah, that was wild. And then, so it looks to me that at home, we've only played them twice at home. Drawn once and we've lost once. That loss was in 2016
Hmm.
by goal by Brent Richards. So,
You know what? That was a game that stopped our 14-game winning streak during the first season
yeah,
when Portland had absolutely nothing to play for,
definitely. So,
and that kind of began like the downward spiral.
yeah, then definitely. Because that was when, pretty much almost to the end of the season. And then
Yep,
we
when
lost.
Portland was fighting for the playoff lives.
Yeah. And so right now, let's take a look at not the schedule, standings. Here we go. So right now in the Western Conference, you have the Portland Timbers 2 surprisingly in 4th place. Surprisingly because of their history.
93.
With
38.
23 points.
Sí, eso fue lo del IVA.
And then RGVFC in 14th place with only 10 points. So let's go with our predictions for this game. Jacob, I'll start with you.
Well, I don't really think it can top last year because last year was just absolutely insane. I can see here that RGVFC will get up maybe to a 1-0 lead, and maybe even 2-0, and be battered or just shattered in the second half with 2 goals scored by defensive breakdown. So I think it'll be a 2-2 draw.
Ray?
I see we come out with a 1-0 victory with the goal coming like in the 70th minute when Quintanilla comes in and makes an effective, makes Gerson Echeverry look like a king on his substitutions.
Okay. My prediction, I am going to go 2-1 loss.
Oh, boy.
And Quintanilla gets the goal. That,
I just can't wait to hear your bold prediction now.
Jacob, bold prediction.
Bold prediction. I see both teams getting yellow cards throughout the game, and this one actually topping it. And then somehow, some way, RGVFC comes out with a 3-0 victory late by scoring in a penalty, a free kick, and a corner. All 3 of their toughest things that they haven't been able to do this year.
Wow. that is really cool. Ray.
Bold prediction. Portland comes in with the short bench, just like majority of the teams that have come visit the Rio Grande Valley. You know how both teams have like a plethora of 18 players, 7 substitutions available, or 7 players to choose from to make 3 substitutions. I say Portland only brings 15 players to the Valley. They'll suffer a red card, and yet they'll hold on for a scoreless draw.
Damn. That's a pretty decent prediction. All right, here goes my bold prediction. My bold prediction, final score 4-3 in favor of the Toros.
Con gol de tragedia?
Gol de tragedia, and Nico Cordy blocks a penalty kick. Goal scorer for will be Aldo Quintanilla with another brace.
Okay.
And before we go, I do want to bring a quick update. Final score in Louisiana. FC Brownsville 2, Rafters 1. The Coyotes come back home with another victory.
Good for them. It's probably their second road win of the season.
Yeah, they're looking good for the most part. Let's hope that continues for them as the season goes on. But yeah, go ahead.
And in fact, they have a 10 a.m. announcement on Saturday. So I wonder what that could be all about.
So I saw that. I'm guessing it's going to be another friendly.
I'm guessing along the same lines, but this time a little bit of a higher profile.
I wonder if it could be Santos Laguna.
No, because they're playing the 4th in San Antonio, and then they come to HEB Park on the 11th. So, no. It's during the weekend in San Antonio, and then that the 11th they come to HEB Park, Santos Laguna, and play the Toros, and then on the 15th they're playing Tigres for the Campeón de Campeones in Los Angeles. So right now,
in which Santos will probably win.
I guess.
Just hang up on him right now.
Anyways, so right now, the Lone Star Conference, you have
Dang, Jacob, that's cold.
that is uncalled for, sir. You're now suspended. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so in the Lone Star Conference, which you have Laredo Heat, which is the I guess you can say another member of an affiliation with the Dynamo.
Mm-hmm.
They have played 5 games. They have won all 5.
That's something that kind of like really just snaps my attention. Okay, they have a U23 with Brazos Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got a U20 development with Laredo.
Mm-hmm.
Can alguien me explique what all that is all about?
I don't know. I think the Dynamo's overreaching, and I think another thing that irks me about it is that they're affiliate or they have a partnership with the Dynamo, but yet their social media account is always praising San Antonio FC. Que alguien me explique eso.
Oh,
It's interesting to see why that is happening. When, if they're partnered with the Dynamo, why are they not, paying attention or with our RGVFC? I mean, I don't know how that works, but it does put you to think. But anyways, continuing on. Second place, you have the Fort Worth Vaqueros. Played 5 games, won 4, lost 1. They have 12 points. Third place, Shreveport Rafters, who the Coyotes just beat. They've played 3 games, won 2, lost 1. They're at 6. Wait, why are they? Oh, because I think their system is weird.
yeah, they base it upon like total points averaged.
The points per game.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wait, that's something out of the ordinary. But it's a good thing you bring that up. So Shreveport Raptors, they have 6 points in 3 matches, which puts their points per games played at 2. Fort Worth Vaqueros had 2.4. Laredo Heat 3. FC Brownsville 4th place, 5 games played, 3 won, 2 lost, 1.8 game points per game played. 5th place, the Houston Dutch Lions, with a 1.8 points per game as well. Then Midland.
I'm going to stop you right there at Houston Dutch Lions. They have a few UTRGV soccer players in that club.
Mm-hmm.
They have a goalie, defender Antoine Jarvis, who is from England, and a couple of other standouts that play in the UTRGV backline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
let's go on.
So there's still an RGV connection with them as well. So 6th place, Midland Odessa Sockers, with 5 games played, 3 won, 2 drawn. So that you have 3 teams with the same stats, 1.8 points per game. Then you have Katy 1895 FC game with 4 games played, 1 win, 3 losses, 0.75 points per game. Then 8th and 9th, Tyler FC and Houston Regals SCA. 5 games played,
Houston Regals,
5 losses.
they also haven't.
They have Charlie Flores.
UTRGV players.
And they have Charlie Flores and ex Toro with them as well.
Where do we go wrong as an organization?
There are many different answers to that question that it would take forever to try to decipher. But I think in Charlie Flores' case, it was more of a mentality issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was young. He lacked a little. I feel like he lacked a little bit of maturity, and I feel that the time that he was gone, without a team, I think that kind of made him realize, what he needed to do, and focus on himself, and that's why he decided to come back as a player, and then ended up signing with the Houston Regals. So just good luck to him, and hopefully that that lesson, that life lesson, continues to have an impact, a positive impact on him. So, having said this, we touched up upon a little bit of everything. We touched up on the Coyotes, touched up on the Dynamo, we touched up obviously on the Toros, touched up on San Antonio as well. But really, really good episode. And so thank you guys, whoever's still watching right now on YouTube. Be sure to, before we log off for this stream, be sure to leave a like on the video. Be sure to also be on the lookout whenever the podcast version goes up on SoundCloud, as well as the other platforms like Google Play Store, iTunes, Stitcher, and the Beautiful Game Network's website. Be sure to check them out at bgn.fm. Follow them at the BGNFM on Twitter. Follow our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, you know them. So be sure to also check out our website down in the RGV.com. Hopefully we can have more content for this Portland Timbers 2 game. And having said all of this, Jacob, Ray, thank you all. Thank you all for participating and helping this show. You guys really bring a lot of good insights on the topics that we talk about, and I really appreciate it. Would have loved to be down there for the game against Portland Timbers 2, but last month I had a lot of travels, to and from the Valley, so I just need some time to kind of rest up on that. But I should be back in the Valley soon, and I'll let you all know when that happens.
I hope to see you down here June 23rd when Didier Drogba comes down.
I hope so too, man. So, any last thoughts before we close?
No, sir. Thank you for having me on, and we'll report to you on Saturday night from HEB Park.
All right. Looking forward to that, man. Take care and have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
No problem. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jacob, any last thoughts?
Not really. Same as what Ray said. Looking forward to Saturday night versus PTFC 2. Looking forward to covering that game as well. Hopefully they can get a W. It looks like the team will most likely all be back. And from what I could tell, Wednesday, as long as those players that played can play with the same passion, we should be good.
And so where can our fans find you?
They can find me on Twitter at JacobYoung456, Instagram JacobYoung99, and sometimes I stream on Facebook, Jacob Young. So yeah.
Yeah, and he streams a lot of Project Cars 2, pretty much racing games. So you guys are into that? Be sure to follow Jacob and his live streams. I'm sure you'll really greatly appreciate it.
When are you starting a Down in the Valley gaming channel? That look on Edson's face right now. That's a great idea. I was totally serious too.
I could start one tonight.
That would be great, but I wish I had the time to bring back FIFA.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Between all of this and everything else, there's no thing such as time.
Yeah, but hopefully.
But Jacob, you can feel free.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, and hopefully, if I find time, we can find a way to do some collabs, like multiplayer games or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll always be fun.
Do some FIFA Pro Clubs.
Oh.
You tell me, Jacob. I'm down for that.
That's something you only need a few hours each week and just play a couple matches each week. You don't need a lot.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, I didn't want to hijack this, but I came out because I was listening to you guys, and I'm like, okay, I got to come out and say something.
You look like you want to say something else.
I did, but I'm keeping the rest of it to myself. I don't want to extend your show by another hour. So
no, it's all right. Just go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, one thing I've been thinking about. Totally gonna rile the hornet's nest, but that's okay. In relation to, especially with the news of Charlie Ward signing with SAFC today, which I know is a sore point, and I apologize for bringing it back up and opening wounds that have not healed yet. But there's a thought there, right? With the hybrid partnership in the RGV to Dynamo pipeline, if players' ceilings are no higher than USL, and they don't want to stay with RGV because they feel like they're not getting minutes, is that, like, who does that fall on? Does that actually fall on the Dynamo, or does that fall on the players? The player, they're going to SAFC. They're not going to get a chance at a higher club. They're not going any higher than RGV would be. So, is it just they're not getting playing time with the Dynamo, which, you got to look at it two ways, right? So they're coming to the Dynamo, which is a higher organization. They're getting an MLS contract, which is more money, regardless of how much they were making in the USL. It's still more money. Mm-hmm. They're just not getting the playing time. Or, so their ceiling is higher. Or they can go over to SAFC and get playing time, but have a ceiling of basically SAFC. You see what I'm saying? Like, Who does that fall on? Is there an aspiration for these players to play in MLS? Do they, I wonder that, because we've seen it with, we've seen it with Charlie Ward. We saw it with, help me out here.
Ibiaga.
And there's one other one too that I can't think of off the top of my head. And then there's Luca, who didn't go to SAFC but went to another team. But it just makes me wonder, because
Taylor Hunter,
that was the one. It's interesting to see that kind of happening, because, like I said, I understand the frustration on the player side of not getting the playing time and wanting to just get some kind of playing time. But at the same time, it's like, what is your aspiration level? How high do you really want to go? If USL is your high point, then no, you're not going to stick in the Dynamo organization, because, frankly, RGV players should aspire to hit MLS. They shouldn't aspire to stay with RGV long term. Not that they can't do that, but that shouldn't be their aspiration. That shouldn't be the high point that they reach for. That shouldn't be their goal. Their goal should be to be a superstar, to hit MLS at the very least, to make a mark there. And so I just started to think about the last couple of days, especially with the Charlie news today and kind of some other stuff going on. It just made me wonder, like, what's really going on here? Is it? And then I also wonder, like, we see players that their ceilings are higher, are MLS level, maybe like an MLS B, not an MLS A necessarily, like a Quintanilla. I don't think he's quite MLS level. Everybody's going to say, oh, he looked great. You were playing an amateur team. Like, let's put it in perspective here. Yeah, he got a brace. Woo, yay. That's not MLS minutes. Don't even get me started on that. But I those are the types of things that I wonder, because I think when you start to kind of frame that in reference of, like, thinking in that way, it helps RGV fans maybe a little bit to understand why there may be just as much of an issue with personnel as there is with the actual partnership with the Dynamo. Like, it doesn't just fall on the partnership of the Dynamo for the struggles that are going on. Because if players aren't aspiring to reach higher, then they're not going to be long-term players even at your USL club. And if their highest aspiration is USL, you're never going to end up with that superstar player. Your highest player is going to be Ibiaga. Great. Defender of the Year, 1 year. He's not a stalwart for SAFC if he's only Defender of the Year 1 year. You see what I'm saying? Like, you need players that if they want to bleed RGV, awesome. That's great. But they should aspire to bleed higher too. They should not make that their end game. And if they are, they're not good enough for RGV to begin with. They really aren't. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
So it's all about the mentality. Like, RGV needs players that want to go above and beyond USL.
Correct.
And that'll benefit RGV in the short term.
Correct. And the Dynamo the Dynamo want to replenish those players with players that have the same type of aspirations and the same talent level. They do. That's what they want, because it's a system. It's not just a 1 year thing. It's not just a single cycle. It's a continuous cycle that repeats itself over and over. And that's not a bad thing for those players that really do think
If done right, though.
If done right, and if the players have the mentality that, hey, I'm good enough to make it in the MLS. If they don't have that mentality, or they begin to think that they're not good enough to make it in MLS, then they're not going to survive in this system. Now, it's not solely that. Yeah, I know 100% for sure it's not solely that there's a lot of blame that falls on the Dynamo partnership with RGV in general, and I'm not taking away from that. But I think it's important that we don't focus solely on that when there's these other things that need to be taken into account at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you focus on one thing too much, you lose sight of some of the other things that are going on that are just as important and tie in just as much. And you end up with people pissed off for one reason only, which may not actually fix the issue. Okay, you guys go independent. Does that actually fix the issue? Not necessarily, because your team is full of players that don't aspire to be anything more than USL players. Right? So now there's a concern. If your players only ever aspire to be USL players, are they just tanking it for the sake of tanking it because they know they're at the highest point they're going to reach anyways? They know they're not going to reach any higher. So I say that because I felt like that needed to be thrown out there tonight. Like it was. Jacob, I want to get your thoughts.
In a way, I do agree, but at the same time, and I've known that this has come across this show before, and it's come across even USA Talk and USA Soccer Talk and things like that, and I'm talking about relegation promotion and why this could actually work. Well, we have such a big USL. This league is fantastic. We can see, in my opinion, we can actually see these teams move up and down in MLS, USL. And if this ever comes to a thing, UPSL maybe, we could see all three of those leagues fluctuate with teams. And I think that could actually work.
Humorously enough, I don't disagree. But, we've had this talk on Generation Orange / Soccer Power Hour previously that it's something that I don't think that the current structure of U.S. soccer, not just USL and not just MLS, but U.S. soccer in general, it's not ready for Pro Rel. And a big part of it, and Edson and I have actually talked about this, and we've talked about it in the Discord chat as well, that one of the big requirements for MLS and for really having a top tier Pro Rel system is that the capacity of stadiums across the board need to be big enough to support MLS. You don't look at the English Premier League, right? An English championship. You don't see teams being promoted from the championship, with stadiums that are less than 5,000 seat stadiums or 5 to 10,000 seat stadiums. The minimum I think I've ever seen is 15 to 20 being, that have been promoted. And even in the championship, I don't think I've ever seen a stadium below 15,000 seats.
Yeah, I think there was a talk on the Discord chat about it, and I think the infrastructure in England is so great that even third and fourth tier have big stadiums.
Have bigger stadiums.
And
because it's been there for so long, and they're built as athletic clubs, as football clubs. They're not built as teams. Here in the U.S., we're just teams and franchises. We're not necessarily clubs. Now, I feel like the Dynamo are trying to build a club system. I feel like Portland is trying to build one. Seattle's trying to build one. But I look at, like, Columbus. I hate to throw that one out there, but Columbus is not a system. Columbus is a team.
So
that's why Columbus can move, by the way, because they're a team, not a club. Anyways, continue.
So to any of our listeners that on the podcast or right now listening to us right now on
and
the
if
stream,
you, by the way, if I've caused you to stop listening, I apologize. I'm just coming at it from the Dynamo side. I love you guys just as much.
No, we actually gained a viewer.
Really?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
But what I was going to tell you is for those people who might be listening in the future that have no idea what the difference between franchise and a club is.
Yes.
Would you mind explaining it to them?
So, franchise / team. I like the team concept because I think it makes more sense. Franchise is kind of like your Subway type thing. Your Subway sandwiches. I should probably phrase that differently. So the difference between a franchise team versus an actual club system. So a club system aspires to be a whole system. It includes academies. It includes, or an academy. It includes teams all the way through with transitional and pipelines like the Brazos Valley Cavalry, Dynamo Academy, RGV, Dynamo, and even in the NWSL team with the Houston Dash and the Dash Academy as well. So it's about a system, it's about a culture, it's about a you know, if you think Houston soccer, the goal is to think the Dynamo organization. You know, and all those teams and all those clubs tied to that are all part of that club system. They're all part of one system, and the youth teams have ties to it as well. They've got partnerships and alliances throughout the city. Whereas a franchise or a team, they're not as connected with the soccer community in their city, you know, where they are. If you think of the NFL, for instance, they're all teams. They could pick up and move it at a moment's notice. Now, the Packers can't because they're different, because they're owned by the local group or local citizens. But you look at any other team, they could technically pack up and move at any point.
You've seen it many times.
And you see it all the time. And I don't want that for MLS. I don't want Columbus. I don't want another Columbus where that is a threat that can be thrown around. I don't want that to happen again because it's not good for the game. It's not good for the growth of soccer in this country because you can't, clubs can't take root. Culture can't take root where it's a team environment, where they're not engaged and connected with the city's culture of soccer, the city's community of soccer. And so that's the difference. I know that was really long-winded, but basically the difference in kind of a very short summary for those that have stayed listening to that, I don't know why. But those, you know, it's literally the difference, but it's the difference between a franchise/team and a club is a system of more than just the team and engaging with the entire soccer community of their area or region or whatever it may be. Another good example of that makes me shudder is FC Dallas. Dallas is a fantastic, well, Frisco. They're a good example of that, though, because they connect with the high schools. They connect with the club soccer there in the city, or at least in that area. You know, they connect all the way through. It's not just one thing, and they have an FC Dallas women's team as well. They're not an NWSL, but it's the same type of concept that it's about creating an environment of growth and development for players throughout the entire system. That while the top level of that system may ultimately be the Dynamo or FCD, in reality, they have players along the entire spectrum, and their goal is to develop that soccer growth and soccer community and individual players, because that's how you find the Dempseys or the DeAndre Yedlins that are going to go overseas because they aspire for greater than just MLS, although MLS is getting up there. But they aspire for that elite level of soccer. You know, your Christian Pulisic, as the case may be. And so that's how it is over in Germany. That's how Germany became so good at soccer. They developed a club system that began at the country level and worked its way down through the rest of the system. They started at the top and worked out the rest of it all the way through. So literally, when you're in Germany, playing in Germany, no matter what level league you're playing in, no matter what club you're playing for Germany. Now, you may not be playing for their national team because your nationality may not allow you to, but you're playing a German style of soccer. You're learning German technique and German technical, capabilities. Whether you're in their club system, whether you're in their academy systems, which they have really good ones of those too, or you're in Bundesliga 2 versus Bundesliga, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's about the growth of the sport in their country and maintaining that elite level that goes far beyond what other countries right now are trying to do.
Because it's at a point in Germany where each team has its own tradition.
Correct.
Even in 4th division, which is the lowest that the German FA controls.
Yeah.
Because I think 5th division and down, it's what, amateur considered?
Well, exactly. And I mean, it's kind of like here in the U.S., when you get below PDL, U.S. soccer is not mandating anything after PDL, below PDL. And really, I don't even think they're mandating much as far as PDL goes. It's all kind of PDL controlled.
Yeah.
But the difference is because they have that control level in Germany, they're able to dictate what players should be learning at each league level, what the transition should look like. And that's why I say, that's like the example of the club concept, but at a whole country level. And that's what I want the U.S. to get to. But I think the U.S. can only do it, and we've talked about this before, if they look at it from a regional standpoint. I don't think we can do it as a full country necessarily, like we have just one country system and we stick to that. But I think if we look at it from a regional aspect and, have maybe 6 regions in the country, I think that's feasible. And I think it's realistic that we could have, pro rel within those types of systems and things like that, because it reduces travel, it reduces costs, but also at the same time, it simplifies, but it also gives players a consistent system that they're building through. Sure, teams are going to have different styles of play, but those regions can be learning the same techniques. They can be teaching the same generalizations, making sure that players are gaining the same talents in terms of ball control and first touch and finishing and those types of things. And, sure, some players are going to adapt to different things differently, but if you have a system and training styles in place, then that just it feeds into your national team. And I think that's been one of the things that we've struggled with as a nation is we don't have a national team system that really embraces the idea of players learning together. In our system, players learn with their team, and that's as far as it goes. If they want to get higher and they're not part of the U.S. national or youth national teams, they probably are never going to make it to the U.S. national teams. They're just not, because they don't get seen.
Yeah.
And so the regional thing kind of helps with that too, because now you have, with regionalization, you have a focus on the actual young players that are there that may have been missed before because your focus is on each individual region.
So what could happen is you can see, like, for example, like each region have their own all-star team per se.
U.S. West versus U.S. South versus U.S. East, that type of thing.
Yeah, and then have one major tournament like each year where each of these teams go where the U.S. national team scouts see them.
Exactly. The coaches and the scouts and
So right then and there, they're already focused that you're watching the best of the best out of each region, and then you just grab from there like which one is the best.
So
out of the country.
what that does end up, that type of system, what it does end up doing is it actually ends up pushing college soccer out the door, because now if you want to achieve that level, you're no longer looking at college soccer as a viable option. Because you're not going to get that same exposure that you would get if you were going through the regional systems. Now, colleges could buy into that, but the NSCAA would never allow it.
No.
Because it would be a system where they would get paid for their services. But because of the way the NCAA is anyways, and NSCAA in terms of soccer, I don't think it's far-fetched to think that if U.S. soccer wanted to, they could basically completely push out college soccer as a viable option for players. All they would have to do is actually up the minimum amount that players can make right out of the gate when they're 16, 17, 18. If they're making that amount, they can afford to go to college in the offseason, just take online classes, whatever it may be, to still get their degrees, but they're still able to make that money and be prepared for the next level and that sort of thing. I mean, we're seeing with Christian Pulisic, it's not like the kid's going to college, but he's doing it while he's maintaining elite level soccer. And that's what we need in the U.S. We need that type of player that's willing to focus as much on the sport as they are on school, or actually more on the sport than they are in school. And, I think there's a lot of parents out there that I really wish they would understand that it's actually good for your kid to some degree to not be stressed out by school 24/7. And, they can still get a degree. It doesn't have to be the highest degree in the world. They don't have to go be a lawyer. They can still get one later if they want. But if they have the talent level and they're good enough, why not let them at least try to achieve whatever they want to achieve? Let them live out their dream and just be able to, support them however you need to support them in terms of when that, if that dream is not achieved and they only get as far as they get, if they've made enough money to support themselves, even after soccer, there's still life after soccer. There's players like Eddie Robinson. There's players like Craig Weibel. There are doors and open opportunities if you're willing to take it after soccer. Anyways.
One final question to you, and this comes from Stud Muffin, MLS to Austin.
Sup, Stud? MLS what?
MLS to Austin.
What about it? Is that's the whole question? MLS to AUS?
What is your
or ATX?
Because I know you wanted to talk about it in Generation Orange. This whole MLS.
We dumped it. So Austin MLS versus Austin USL. My take on this is that I feel like I kind of want to support Austin USL because I don't want to see Columbus move to Austin. And I kind of feel like Austin MLS is a poor attempt to a poor attempt for pre-court to try to make something happen out of nothing. And I'm kind of glad to see Austin USL take such a hardline stance on things. And I do feel like there was a lot of collusion going on behind the scenes between pre-court ventures, between MLS, between Austin politicalites, politicalites. I don't know what the politicians. There we go, and etc. I feel like there was a lot of under the table, probably money being passed around because that's what happens in politics. A lot of lobbying, and that's how they got the approvals that they needed to get for certain things to be pushed through the system. And on the one hand, and then I turn around and I look at it from that's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, I look at it and I say, Austin wants top-level soccer. I definitely understand that from an MLS standpoint. They want MLS because it's the best soccer out there right now in the U.S. But I think Austin hasn't proved anything as a sports city. And I think if you throw MLS into a city that's not a sports city, which, again, we don't know what Austin is going to be, then I think you're just setting it up for potential failure or at least potential badness. It may not be failure per se, but if they're a struggling last place team year over year, if they're not making enough money to be able to actually buy players, if they're worse than the Dynamo year over year, that's a bad look. That's not to say the Dynamo are bad, but if they are worse than the Dynamo just in terms of how much they spend, that's a bad look for a team that moved from Columbus. It would require pre-court putting in a lot of money after moving there outside of the stadium to bring players in.
So do you see it very likely that Columbus moves to Austin?
I do, only because I know how the politics work. And once the politics have already decided that that's going to happen, it's just a matter of time.
There you go, Stud Muffin. Question answer.
I hate it, but it's the case. But if it does happen, then I hope the the Austin USL movement, I hope that doesn't stop. I hope that they still try to pull in a team, because I think that they could actually compete bringing in fans against the MLS team at this point. Because the MLS team is coming from Columbus, and there are enough people that don't want to see that happen in Austin that I think they could viably push the MLS team for attendance year over year and create kind of a schism there that MLS doesn't want and ultimately is going to have to address somehow. But they can't run the USL franchise out of town.
And they have to. They have to, according to the USL, they paid the money.
Yeah.
They have to field the team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or odds about it. USL, ATX USL has to field the team by 2019.
Absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I think it's good. I do think that the pre-court ventures, pre-court himself, the people that are going to run the Austin franchise, I think if they don't get MLS, or if they do get MLS, I think what they're going to try to do is try to partner with the USL team and make it their affiliate type of thing, kind of like the Dynamo affiliate, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's not what that USL team needs. That USL team needs to remain independent strictly because there's so much momentum against MLS in that city because of pre-court.
They can take advantage of that.
And they can tap into that. And I think long-term, that actually opens up the possibility, if they go that route, where they can compete against pre-court hard enough that I think it pushes pre-court out of Austin, and they end up becoming the MLS franchise, maintaining their system, maintaining their logos, maintaining their identity. Thank you. I was looking for that word and I couldn't think of it. That's exactly the word I wanted. Yes.
Well, guys, this
has been the Sean 30-minute show. Just kidding.
But Sean, thank you so much for your insights on these topics that we really had no plan on.
That we did not intend to. I told you it would be another 30 minutes. That was not a joke.
It's okay because we started like 30 minutes later.
You guys started pretty late.
Yeah. So Sean, thank you so much for joining
Anytime.
us these couple of minutes.
Who's ready for World Cup?
I am.
Who's ready to watch Mexico win their group? Me.
Not me.
Not me.
Me and Ray.
No. Who's ready? No, I'm not gonna touch upon that subject anymore. I'm not gonna touch that subject.
Who's ready for the U.S.? Oh.
No, I was gonna bring up the scores.
What's the U.S. women's score, by the way? I haven't even looked.
U.S. women's.
Are they up 5-0 yet on China PR? Because I think they're playing China PR.
Yeah, 1-0.
1-0. Oh.
Alex Morgan with the goal in the 57th minute.
Man, that's so late. It's like they just didn't care to play the first half. It's whatever. It's whatever.
And then they play on the 12th again, once again, right?
Yeah, they always do that with the women's teams. They try to back them like within a week so that they can basically have the players and not interrupt league play too much.
So, Jacob, thank you so much as well for coming on the show.
Yeah, go play some card games.
And
All right.
so we'll try to get something planned for Down in the Valley Gaming.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can also do like some sort of not just FIFA, but also
Some other games and stuff. Yeah,
and that way we can each have like our own variety of games as well.
Just no tournaments. I don't need to get my butt kicked on camera. Thanks.
would be fun though.
Yeah, fun for you.
And what would be really cool? I think it would be really awesome since I know some of the players actually play FIFA. It'd be cool to have a guest, like a guest,
Oh, that would be cool.
guest appearance of like a Dynamo or an RGV player.
There's your gaming channel concept right there. You once a month or once a week or whatever, you just grab a player, you play couple matches with them, and you just stream it live. You record it, put it in like video cast format, and share it out.
Yeah.
Boom! Make money on it. Get sponsors. Done.
Especially now with esports being
as
such
big as it is. Oh yeah. And
Kid Mamito.
that'd be great. Oh, I would love that. I if that ever were to happen, I'll be honest. The first thing I'd be like, hey, I need tips, bro. Like, for real, I suck at FIFA. Like, how do I not suck at FIFA?
Yeah. But we'll get into discussions later on. It is already gonna be 9:40.
Yeah, I'm looking at the time over here.
Yeah. So thank you guys to our audience who are still with us.
Thanks, Jacob.
Okay. So Blues fan says he wants to see Mexico dead last in the group.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And then he said,
I mean, I get the sentiment. I want to see them advance so that they can lose again in the round of 16. That's
and
all.
then he said the first guest of the gaming channel should be Albert Lee's Instant Views.
Oh, dude. No, Kyoto, because Kyoto would throw the controller at the TV because of you. We'd have a broken TV on our hand. It'd be great. It'd be fantastic.
Let's start a GoFundMe to replace that TV.
Yeah, that's exactly how that would be.
So, all right, guys. So, thank you so much. We'll see each other next week. It should be Wednesday. Oh, before I forget, since there's still people watching, next week, Chuy Enriquez will be on the show live.
Nice.
So don't miss it. And be sure that you guys have any questions for him. Be sure to. No, Blues fan. I don't like clickbait. So so be sure to check it out. If you guys have any questions you want me to ask or Jacob want to ask Chuy Enriquez, be sure to send it to us via email at jacob@downintheRGV.com or at edson@downintheRGV.com.
And also, guys, just remember, if you have questions during the week, even if it's not specific to a player or specific to a topic that's been discussed that week, you can ask them on Twitter or Facebook. And I mean, Edson is always on that thing watching. So if you post a question on there and it's something that ends up getting on the show, then you get it answered anyways. But I'm just saying, like, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Even if you think you feel stupid or, you're going to look stupid, trust me, you don't look stupid. There's other people that are thinking the same thing and wanting to ask the same question.
Or maybe any one of us might have that same question.
It might be us too. Yeah, I was going to say.
So thank you guys, and see each other next week. Take care. # We Are Toros. # Somos Toros. But more importantly, # Forever Orange. Have a good night, guys.
Times are down, I'll be with you. Your times are rough, this time I see it too. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can.
All right, sounds good.
So they gon' put it on.
You too, man.
can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. 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 I see you, and you see me too. We may be broke, but we see the truth. All this bullshit drama, I can see right through. Everybody wants something they can't have, so they gon' put it on you. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Over the ocean, I can see us there. Let's run away and be forever young. We'll catch the sun where there's no need to run. Wherever you go, yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there.